trip to our nation's capital, not too far from where I grew up, to reacquaint myself with the memorials and monuments built to honor the people in this film. In other words, it's a field trip. And I'm glad you're along for the ride. Assuming the old truck makes it.
Jeff Howard.
Mike Rowe.
Here I sit. How are you, my friend?
It's so good to see you again. You know, it's always a good day when I get to speak to America's American. And this is one of those times. Hope you didn't forget I'm the first that called you that. So
You know what? I'm making a note. And right now, as soon as we're done, I'll call the film company and get my credit changed in the movie to say, what is it? America's American.
American. Yeah, just put it on your business card and we'll be okay. That's what it's got to say. Mike Rowe, America's American.
Done.
Well, Mike, if it wasn't good enough for you to conquer television, now you got to conquer the box office, with your new film, Something to Stand For. I understand that the movie came from, the idea for the movie came from your popular podcast about stories of American history and the patriots who built this country.
Well, I think the last time we talked, I did say that I think everything starts with a story. And yeah, you're right. I didn't set out to write a movie. I set out to write 8-minute mysteries, like the old Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. That's what my podcast, that's how it began. And I wrote a few hundred of them. And then there was a book, and then there was a TV show, and then somebody called. This is literally like 3 months ago, Jeff. You know how the film business works. This is bananas. They called and said, look, we can get something on the air for Independence Day if you'll take 9 or 10 of your favorite short stories, these mysteries, and string them together in a way that would make sense for the theater. We'll get it out there if you make it great. So I made some calls, and modesty aside, I think we made it pretty good. And yeah, boom, Bob's your uncle. We're in theaters.
And what's really unique is that a lot of this movie takes place of you visiting Washington, D.C. And I remember when I visited Washington in my late 20s for the first time, you see Washington in movies, you see it when you're a kid and picture books and everything. But when you get there, it is the most surreal experience. And as any American, the patriotism just swells when you visit this city. And so your road trip there, you got to go to the Marine Corps Memorial. You saw the flag raising ceremony. I mean, that's got to be just one of your many stories in this movie.
Well, look, I mean, it's a privilege. For me, it was weirdly personal. You went there in your 20s for the first time. I actually grew up in Baltimore, not far from D.C. And my first field trip, I think I was in the 8th grade, was to all of those places, and to see the statuary and the monuments and the memorials as a boy, that's one thing. But to go back as a grown man and to do it with an agenda, with a purpose. You're right, it's surreal because when you think about all the books you've read and all the movies you've seen and all the TV shows you've seen that hinge on all that iconography, and then to see it in real life, that's powerful. And to stand there with a park ranger who's cleaning the graffiti off of these statues every morning, that's amazing. And it forces you to ask questions like, what's going on? How did we get here? And is there anything left that we can still agree is worth standing for? And that's what the movie's about.
And also you ran into a 92-year-old World War II veteran. I mean, we just celebrated the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And I've met a few World War II vets myself in real life. And it's just overwhelming gratitude to the greatest generation.
Well, look, that is actually, spoiler alert, probably my favorite moment in the movie. I mean, I love the recreations. I love the stories. We spent a bunch of money, and there's a lot of production value in this very deliberate film. But that moment you mentioned, that wasn't in the script. I was at the World War II Memorial about to do a stand-up, and I saw this old man in a wheelchair being wheeled in with half a dozen other old men. It was an honor flight. They were there with their family and volunteers, and they were sitting there looking up at that wall of stars with tears like streaming down their faces. And I said, something, I want to talk to them. And I took the crew over with me and we filmed it. And you just never know, Jeff. You can sit down and you can write a script and you can do a pretty good job bringing things to life. But in the end, it's reality that's right in front of you. You know, thank God we filmed it and put him in the movie, because in 2 or 3 sentences, he sums up the entire purpose of the project better than I could have done with anything on purpose.
And finally today, you know, we always hear in the movies of heroes jumping on grenades, you know, and you think, well, that never really happened, but it did happen. It has happened, hasn't it?
Oh man, it happened. It happened. The most unlikely soldier, a demoted deserter who was headed into the brig for deserting his post, winds up fighting in the Battle of Iwo Jima, throwing himself not on 1 but 2 grenades at the same time, somehow survives. And what happens to him as a result of that? I mean, I can't believe nobody's made a movie about it already. There's so many stories, Jeff. There's so much to share. You know, look, we're not done. This country is not perfect. We're a work in progress, and we were formed by imperfect people. But the idea that we somehow don't have anything to be proud of, or don't have anything to feel grateful for, or don't have anything to celebrate, that's BS, man. We have so much to look back and reflect on and feel great about. Exactly. This movie just scratches the surface.
Return civics to the classroom. We got to teach
Amen.
next generation. Class. We got to teach the next generation what it means to be American, how to be American. I was taught that way in the 70s. We need to return that to the classroom for the next generation.
Amen.
Mike Rowe, America's American, something to stand for in theaters, June 27th. It's always, you're one of my favorite interviews and just one of my favorite people. So thank you so much for joining me today, and let's talk again soon.
Yeah, let's do it in person one of these days. It'd be fun.
All right, come to Vegas. We'd love to have you.
Viva. Viva Las Vegas. See you, Jeff.